Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Always On Point podcast with Kristen Ambo, sponsored by my company, Point Mortgage. So excited to be here with you today, and I've got Lisa Hanson in-house with me today. Lisa, thank you so much for being here with us. So for those of you that don't know Lisa is like the jack of all trades when it comes to everything, real estate. So she's not only a real estate agent, she's also a managing broker. She is an appraiser. And she is an attorney, a real estate and life or family attorney.
Estate planning.
Estate planning, sorry. I say family, and then what it's going through my head is all the things that family needs an attorney for when it comes to their estate. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah. This is great. So we're going to zero in on her and her expertise because she is phenomenal with information when it comes to real estate, but also appraisals. And I know there's a lot of changes coming up with appraisals, and there's even been some different things in our world with appraisal waivers tightening up and things to that nature. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions, let's start it off right here, Lisa, is if I waive my home inspection, I've got an appraisal, so that'll be all right, right? If I don't waive my appraisal, can you just tell us and those of us listening, what is the difference between a home inspection and what you do on the appraisal side so people know exactly what they're getting into or what they're waiving when they're negotiating for a home sale and a home purchase?
Sure. So the appraisal process is basically just the process of looking at the home and looking at all the components of the home to determine value.
Right.
We don't do any inspection. I think the misconception is for FHA and VA because FHA and VA require us to look in the attic. I mean, we look in the attic, but we don't know what we're looking for.
Right. You're just making sure it's there and it's not leaking and things to that nature.
Really, we're just looking for water stains and was it leaking and that kind of a thing, or something that's obvious to us, but we're not home inspectors. So we don't, basement, if there's water in the basement, all we do is report what we see, really, is all that we're doing.
Yep.
Where home inspector goes thoroughly through it. A home inspector is trained in all the building components of a house, and they know exactly what to look for if there's, any defective foundations or anything of that nature. But we're not trained in that. I mean, if there's a crack in the block, I may have to report that.
Right.
But maybe I don't even see it.
I was going to say, you're more so, and I know when they say to us, as far as appraisals are concerned, they need a shoulder and neck review of the attic, meaning you have to pop up through the attic and you have to just visually look at it.
Just visually look, take a picture up in the attic. And so we're not going in the attic.
Right.
We're not doing any of those things.
You're not going into the home. Here's the other misconception of appraisers, and I want to dig into this a little bit too, is that you're looking to not get the value of the home. And I find that to be complete opposite. You want the solid value of the home. You're doing your visual due diligence when you go in. So many people, I think when you walk in the home that you are assessing the value of what you see, which there is some truth to. But a lot more of what you do is at the desk, finding the comparables and the sizes and things like that. So if you go into a home and it takes you 15 minutes to visually look at this home, that's not odd, I don't think, for an appraiser.
That's typical, 15 to 30 minutes, depending upon the average home. We just walk through the home, take pictures of every room, measure what we need to measure. Usually we measure the outside of the home, and then and look at things, look at the basement. We look at, any defects of the home. We don't look at housekeeping. I don't care if you didn't dust or you didn't pick up the toys or you didn't do any of those things. That doesn't matter. We're looking at the overall structure of the house, the bones, and how well is the house maintained? What are the quality of materials? We're looking for those types of things.
Right. And you take that back then to the desk, and correct me if I'm wrong, and that's where you're really pulling the fine data. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what's the square feet, what does this house all have in comparison to other properties that have sold like this?
Exactly. And they have to have sold.
Right.
So many times I get to the homeowner's house and they say, and sometimes it's a unique house.
Yeah.
I'll be like, well, this is really unique. And I may just say, finding comparables is going to be hard. Well, the house down the street, there's a house down the street just like mine. But it didn't sell.
Yes.
So the misconception is the house has to have sold in the last 6 months to a year.
Right.
Not just because your neighbor's house is just like yours.
Yes.
We can't, what do we compare with? We don't have a sale price. So
we
have to have that sale price.
And break down for us, because I can already see it starting where we're seeing people, the spring market's here. We spent all winter telling people buy now because you can negotiate more. And people are in the spring market, so they're getting antsy and want to buy. And we're starting to see those appraisal waivers coming in. Even though the lender might still need the appraisal, the clients are still waiving them in the offers, or, things to that nature. So can you go over with us quickly as an appraiser? One of the things I get, if the house comes in short, like, okay, so let's set the table. And let's just keep it easy. The asking price is $100,000. Client offers $105,000. The appraisal comes in at $100,000 because that's what the real estate agent used to comp the house and list it. You go in and say this is worth $100,000, not $105,000. The agents almost inevitably come back to me and say, but there were 15 offers on the house, all for over ask. How do you respond to that as an appraiser? Because then I come to you and I say, well, there's 15 over asking prices. So the agents are saying, well, there's value there because they want everybody's overbidding. So the value is in the house and what they're willing to offer, which I agree with. Mm-hmm. But do those over ask offers have anything to do with the appraised value itself?
Usually not.
Okay.
It does show to a degree that there's interest.
Right.
And that other people are willing to pay that too. But sometimes we don't know what the terms of those other offers are. Right? I mean, maybe they had to sell a house. Maybe there were other terms in those offers that we as appraisers don't know.
Yep.
And so is it truly, did you have all these over asking?
Yep.
And why was it all over asking?
Right.
Maybe it's the only house. And so,
yeah. Well, and that's a great point, because if an offer comes in at $105,000 next to it, but asking for a $5,000 seller credit, as the appraiser, you need to know that. Mm-hmm. And now the sellers are netting the same $100,000. It's not really an over ask.
That's
so
very
it's a
true.
great
we don't
point.
know the terms of all of the other offers.
I love that you brought that up, because to me that's a great point, and I hope to you listening that's a great point too. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. One is truly 105, and the other one's 100. Mm-hmm. Even though they both offered 105. Mm-hmm. So,
and we can take, if we can see that there's a pattern in the market, that the market is increasing, we can adjust upward.
Yep.
The lenders will let us adjust upward, but we have to show that there really is a pattern.
Yes.
A pattern, that the market is really showing it. And oftentimes there might be seasonal fluctuations.
Right.
And so necessarily, is it just a short time seasonal fluctuation, or is it a true increase in the market?
Right.
Same with, you could have one house that sold for a lot less. Do you want me to use that house as a comp?
So I agree with you. And that was where during the last 4 or 5 years, I've had to make more calls. And again, we cannot speak as a lender. I can't speak to the appraiser on value. I can't talk to you about value, but I can call and ask questions that I'm being given, and you can give me an answer.
Perfect. Yes.
And one of the things that had been asked from agents a lot when they weren't coming in, this was a few years back, and when a lot of values weren't coming in, because that was like the hype and the spike in the market where everybody started asking over. So the values of the houses prior to selling weren't there yet. So we did deal with a lot of undervalued houses for a moment. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, they were always like, one of the questions I got was, well, there's all these offers. But then the other piece of it, I think, went back to what you just said is, and I feel like we might run into it a little bit this spring market, is because this winter, homes were getting asking price, but they weren't going bonkers over asking price. And now in the spring, we already have a tightened market, can already see some waivers happening in offers because they want to be the one that they choose. So they're willing to waive inspections and waive appraisals or things like that. So if we have a little bit of a dip and values don't come in because people are asking over now, I feel like this last 6 months might lead us to that.
It may again, because even the data that I've been pulling recently is showing that the overmarket is stable with a slight potential increase.
Okay.
It's just,
so we're not
really
doing
what the market is showing
10% over anymore. We've got a slight increase.
Right. So we're showing a slight increase.
Yeah.
And again, it could be the seasonal fluctuation.
Right.
It could be, a number of things. And also just limited homes that have sold too.
Right.
So, and you got markets, like I work pretty much in a rural market. And so if you've got 5 homes, that can really skew.
Yes.
If you got 5 sales And, one's a $500,000 waterfront property, one's, a $100,000 house, one's a $20,000 camp. Those can really skew the market to say, is it stable? Is it increasing? And all of these things. So you could just have one spike, one high-end house. You could have one low-end house. And you've got to take all of those into consideration of what types of houses have sold.
And that's a lot of what appraisers would say when I call and say, okay, I'm doing my due diligence on behalf of the agents. They want to know if we're taking these into consideration. And almost every time I could have used these 3 other comps that I didn't, that would actually bring it down. Mm-hmm. So I think to any agents out there or clients out there listening, because I want to go over what you need to do in order to be an appraiser. I don't think enough of our industry, whether it be real estate agents and or clients coming in, truly understand the depth of what you need to do as an appraiser to get your license and to be able to make these decisions and be able to appraise these houses. So, for example, I could get my real estate license and start practicing real estate and put a sign in the yard the day after.
Mm-hmm. What is it, 72 hours?
Yep, 72 hours. Oh, yeah. Well, not the day after, but 3 days after. 72 hours. As a loan officer, I can get my license. I can take the test, do the background check. And the second a company sponsors me, which can happen in 24 to 48 hours, I can start writing loans for you. I can start doing social media saying that I'm the expert, and you have no idea out there if I'm the expert if I wrote 1 loan or 5,000 loans. As an appraiser, please tell our listeners what you have to do, because I think it's far more than what any of us have to do.
It's far more. I don't remember the exact hours now, but I know when I took it, I got my appraiser license in 2004, and I think it was 96. It might have been 96 hours of education. But now you've got to have, I think it still might be the 96 hours. Don't quote me on that.
Sure.
I don't remember exactly. But you have to work under an appraiser. And the time, it was 2,500 hours. I think they've reduced it maybe to 1,500 now. I'm not sure exactly what those numbers are. But it's quite, you have to work under another appraiser for quite an extensive amount of time. You have to send in reports to the state, and they have to approve those reports before they will even give you your license.
Right. And for real estate loan officers, they don't do audits on us to say you wrote X amount of bad offers, or, where you had mistakes in them, or you had mistakes in your loans here and there, so you're on a probationary period, whereas an appraiser does. You have to get that okayed by the state.
And you have to work under another appraiser. So if I had a trainee, I would be training that person, and really it's a report that I have written, and that trainee helped me with it. That report gets sent to the state. If there's something wrong with it, I'm getting in trouble.
You're the reflection of that.
Exactly. I'm going to get a bad mark on me and could get reprimanded from the state if I did something wrong in that appraisal.
So you have to make sure you're training them perfectly, because otherwise you're coming down no matter how long you've been in the process.
Exactly.
And so you're also going to be really careful about who you're spending your time training.
For sure. And so that brings up one of the things is that there is a real shortage of appraisers.
There's a huge shortage.
But you don't have appraisers who want to train other appraisers.
Right.
Some appraisers look at it and say, well, I'm training my competition. Why would I do that?
Right.
The less appraisers there are, the more fees we can get. Things like that.
True. Yep.
And then I looked last night because I was just kind of curious. So I pulled up WRA, and in 2017, the average appraiser age was 60 years old.
Come on, but that's good feedback, because so many times.
And that was in 2017, so we all got older now.
You don't look a day over it. Don't let them fool you, Lisa. No, but that's such good information to know. And why I wanted to bring this up is because I don't think the general public understands that. And I think you guys need a bachelor's degree on top of it. So you can't even go to a community college and get a 2-year degree in engineering and become, I don't even know if you can get a 2-year degree in engineering. But
they took the bachelor's degree off. It's just associates now.
Okay.
Yes, it's an associate's degree.
Good.
Yes.
Well, hopefully that will help.
So that they were trying to open things up a little bit. The Appraisal Foundation is, who's really in control of us.
Yep.
And so they have tried to open things up a little bit, knowing that there is a shortage.
Right.
But they still have the training, with another appraiser. They still have all of that, the apprenticeship. So they still have that. But yes, if you're going to be a certified general, then you've got to have more college education. So
yes. And then there's even additional education if you want to be a VA or FHA appraiser, because so that's another kind of misnomer is a lot of real estate agents will say, well, the appraisals are harder on FHA and VA. Yes, they're looking for more things, but they're not harder. They're the same appraiser as you are.
Yeah,
right?
We're the same.
You're the same.
We actually are doing the same thing. And now that you bring that up, actually Fannie and Freddie are really starting to, they're on board. They're asking for some of the very same things that FHA and VA are asking for.
Thank you. Because when that happened, was that like October of last year? Excuse me.
It has started fairly recently in this past year. Yeah, last year, because they really started getting picky. Like they started asking chipping and peeling paint.
Yep.
You know, any house that was built prior to 1978, if there's any chipping and peeling paint, and they will, even if you don't mention it in my appraisal report, I feel like they blow up the photos.
Yep.
The underwriters, they're just crazy. They blow up these photos.
They do.
And they're like, oh, there's some chipping and peeling paint there.
Yes.
Or they blow up the photo and say, there's a stain on the floor. Is that water? Was that standing water at one?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Right?
I didn't see it when I was there.
Right. And I love one appraiser I actually ended up getting a deal because a lender, a different lender, wouldn't close on it because there was a hairline fracture in the foundation. And I was like, what? Send me a picture of that. And I said, is there any water? Is there, like, obviously, if there's a pool of water, like you said earlier, and this time of the year in Wisconsin, everything's melting. Now's a great time to check basements, right?
Yep. Had two of them yesterday.
Yes.
2 basements full of water.
Yes. And that's another thing. Like, make sure you know what's going on in that basement so that when the appraiser comes over, they understand what they're looking at, right? Mm-hmm. But I called an appraiser. It might have even been you, Lisa. I'm sorry. This was like 2 years ago, but it stuck with me because I laughed. And the appraiser's like, find me a basement in Wisconsin that doesn't have a crack in it. Mm-hmm. Because they all do. Just because there's a crack in it doesn't mean the foundation is horrible. We just need to know, is there leaking? Is there not leaking? And as long as you can explain it to the appraiser to say, no, there's no leaking, there's no water damage. You can see water stains on concrete.
For sure.
You know if there's been water there.
And you can tell.
Yes.
Over a long period of time, you can tell there's something going on with that foundation.
Right. But what happens is, and where I'm going to tie it up is Fannie and Freddie probably had a buyback on something. You know, like that lender probably had a buyback, meaning Fannie and Freddie wouldn't take the loan. So now they're sitting on that. And their underwriter didn't do a little bit more due diligence to find out about that crack. So then in general, they tighten up on everything. Mm-hmm. And so Fannie and Freddie right now, absolutely correct. And where I wanted to bring it back when I talked about appraisal waivers and stuff, we're not seeing as many appraisal waivers, which means Fannie and Freddie have tightened up their algorithms when we're running loans that are saying, nope, we've had some issues with appraisal waivers and loans coming to fruition or performing positively. So we're going to tighten up appraisal waivers, and now we need you to have appraisals on everything. That's where you come in. Mm-hmm. And so that's Fannie and Freddie tighten that up. And they have basically, what my understanding is they're sitting back going, okay, we have all these people waiving inspections. We can't control that because they're not necessary. This is home inspections, not appraisal inspections. So we need our appraisers to do a little bit more work, even on a conventional loan like they do in FHA and VA. Look a little closer to the health and safety hazards at least. And if you visually see health and safety hazards, you now have to call them out even on a conventional loan.
Yes.
Or maybe in years past you didn't have to.
Right. They didn't care. They didn't care if there was chipping and peeling paint, if it was an older house, 1978 or older. And they didn't care if there wasn't a basement railing or if steps were missing outside the house. So if you have a patio door and there's no steps, Fannie and Freddie didn't care about that. Now FHA and VA do.
Yes.
So if you have a patio door and there's no steps going out to it, you have to have steps going out. Safety hazard.
A good solid cinder block step that you can go get at Menards or something.
They don't care what it is.
We don't care. We're not trying to go get, somebody and spend all this money on. No, you don't have to do that. But there do have to be safety hazards in place when you're giving a mortgage. And a lot of that has to do with the insurance on the home and the insurability of the home. And a mortgage needs insurance. And so we need to make sure that home is meeting all health and safety hazards because we don't want to have issues with homeowners insurance later on, So a lot of people don't realize that that's the why. We don't want you to foreclose, and we don't want the insurance to fall off the house because the home is no longer insurable. Mm-hmm. So that's why we care. It's not really because we feel like that crack in the basement is the whole foundation is going to fall in on every single house. but we have to make sure it's insurable.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And they're just doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
But it makes it difficult for us as appraisers because we have our uniform standard appraisal practice.
Yes.
We have that we have to follow.
Yep.
Then we have Fannie and Freddie's rules. We have VA's rules. We have FHA's rules.
Yep.
And then we have lender-specific rules.
Yes.
All of these things, and they're all different.
And you're speaking my love language because it's hard to do these jobs because of everything you have to know. And everyone assumes you know everything about everything instantly. It's like, well, some of this changes, then guidelines changes.
It changes frequently.
Yes.
And from lender to lender. This lender will allow something.
Yes.
This lender won't. This lender wants you to check for this. This lender wants you to comment on this. I have one lender who makes you comment on everything. Comment that a CO smoke detector is required by law in the state of Wisconsin. Well, it is, but we have to put that in our report.
Wow.
Some require that in their reports now.
Really deep down.
Very. They're just getting right down to the nitty gritty. Did a house have a permit when the garage was added?
Yep.
So if you say, the garage was added on and the house was built in 1978, the garage was added in 1998, is there a permit for that? Now I got to go dig in county records and try to find a permit.
And then if there wasn't, now you have to deal with all that. Like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And I'm glad you brought that up because the other piece is, well, the appraisal inspection was done yesterday. Why don't I have it in hand yet? And I'm always like, hold on. They need to finish it. It takes them a few days. We got to give them we need at least 10 days for an appraisal. You got to give you 1 time to get it in the books, 2 to get to the scheduling, and then 3 to finish it. Like there's a lot that goes on in there. And I think they just expect you guys sit at home and don't do anything and can whip that sucker out in an hour.
I can tell you, in 2004, I could finish an appraisal report in 30 minutes.
Yeah. It's not like that anymore.
Since all the rules, since 2008, 9, 10, when all of the rules started changing, I can type, sometimes I work 8 to 10 hours on one appraisal report.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there all day because maybe the numbers aren't working out. I didn't need to, okay, this comp's not working, scratch it. Let's go back and find another one that doesn't even exist. But maybe it did. It wasn't there yesterday. Maybe it'll be there today.
It's a lot of research.
Right.
It's a lot of research. And you want your appraiser to be researching, right? Because you want the right value.
You want the right value.
You don't want them just to slap a value on it.
If there's anything that's wrong, I'm working on one where homeowners didn't pull permits.
Yeah.
And I know the lender's definitely going to come back and ask.
Right.
And so, it took me all day just to contact all of the authorities that I needed to
And then you're waiting on them.
And I'm waiting on them to get back to me.
Yeah.
Waiting on assessors to get back to me.
Yeah.
I waited. Last week I had an assessor. We had, I'd send him an email. He might answer me back for a day.
Right.
And then I'd answer him. And then it would take him another day to get back to me.
Yeah.
And so
those
you're
are the
waiting
things
for
you
all of these
deal
things.
with. So we need to give our appraisers a little more grace, I think.
We need a lot of grace.
And a lot of grace. All right. Last question, and it's a myth buster, but I think it's super important. One thing I hear constantly from clients and agents is, why do the appraisers get a copy of the offer to purchase? They shouldn't get it. They should just appraise the house.
Well, you know what? I agree.
Yep. Okay.
I feel like I have said I think that we should not get a copy of the offer to purchase. We are supposed to be unbiased.
Right.
And I personally feel that as soon as I get a copy of that offer to purchase, as much as I don't want to be biased, then there's a part of me and I'm like, I wish I didn't know what it sold for. Granted, I know what it was listed for. I know a little bit about that. I know that. But sometimes I just and it makes my job harder. Yeah. Because sometimes, so maybe it sold for 20 grand more. I'm like, now I feel,
did they really do 20? Is the market there?
Is it really there? Now I got to do more work, right?
Yep.
Now I'm digging deeper.
Yes.
And I got to go back and I got to do more work. And maybe rightfully so.
Right.
I'm doing more diligence to make sure is that value really there?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've got to really dig deeper at that.
Yes.
Where I feel like if we didn't know the report, we're just doing our typical appraising and this is where the numbers fall. This is where it is. That's where it should be.
Right.
And I feel that lenders, Fannie, Freddie, back all these loans, it shouldn't be a drop dead number. I feel it should be a range.
I agree with you on that.
You could get 5 different appraisers and they say that as long as you're within 10%, it's probably a legit appraisal, right?
Yep.
But
I've heard that.
But now we're looking at, you've got this drop dead number.
Yes.
Right? If your house is selling for 105 and it comes in at 104,
right.
I mean, sometimes as an appraiser, I've stretched it as far as I could go to make it the 104.
Yep.
Legitimately, right?
How
am I going to get $1 more $1,000 out of this?
Right.
Who cares about the $1,000? I tried, but then they're going to say, well, how come you made that adjustment? Or why
and
did
you couldn't find an extra $1,000 out of it and things like that. And I feel like if there was just no need, regardless of credits or not, like I do play the devil's advocate. Well, maybe they need to know for the seller credits to add in and things like that. But then I go, if the house appraises, it shouldn't matter.
Exactly. That's all we
so
need.
So if the house appraises, that to me is a true unbiased. And that is one thing I agree with you. And I think everyone listening is shaking their head going, no, they shouldn't have that. And as a consumer, if I'm buying a house, I want it to appraise out, but I want to know what the value is for the real value. Mm-hmm. Like you said, an unbiased opinion.
And I have had lenders not give me the offer to purchase until I've done the report.
Okay.
I have had it. It doesn't happen very often.
I would say that must not happen very often.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, it will happen because they just want to know they don't want to give me the offer to purchase.
And see, you learn something new in this business every day. And I tell people that all the time. Don't act like you know everything in this business because there's no way you ever would, no matter how long you've been in it.
Every day is a learning curve.
Every day is a school day. Right.
Every house you get into, I find sometimes I get into a house and I go, what is that?
Yes.
Like I've never seen that
what
apparatus
the heck is that
before.
Now? Exactly.
And then they explain to me what it is, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before. So
the amount you get to see in the houses you get to do it
sometimes
so
I
well
can say,
educated.
I feel like I told a colleague this morning, I said, you know what? Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of negative about appraising because I feel like we get sometimes really beat up.
You guys do get beat up the worst of anybody,
and we really
I think.
Get pounded, and sometimes I feel like I just have a negative attitude about it sometimes, but then there's the things that we're always learning and seeing different people and meeting people, meeting homeowners. I mean, the homeowners are great. You know, I love to meet them and have a little chit chat with them and all of that. But sometimes we just feel like we get kind of pounded on. But
you sure do.
Try to keep it positive.
I try to for you. I really do. I try to advocate as much as I can and play objective because I think it's fair. I think it's so quick to say, what the heck, instead of, okay, let me understand. Right? So, well, I appreciate you coming in, Lisa. Thank you so much. And for sharing all your knowledge. You guys, Lisa is one of the most knowledgeable people I know in real estate. And I'm so excited for her to come down and share this time with us and to give it to all of you. So thank you. Thank you. Keep doing an amazing job.
Yep. Thank you.
Yes. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you guys all for listening still. And we'll see you next week here on the Always On Point podcast with Kristen Ambos.